stage. Now, this isn't normally how I start my films, in the kitchen, of course, but then this is a bit different. This is a film about a walk, but it's not any old walk. It's a really important walk to me. I'm going to be following in my distant footsteps on a path where I grew up, quite obviously, where I really cut my teeth as a naturalist and had plenty of time to think about the world. I hope you enjoy it, and I'm going to be using a little bit of unique technology. It's this 360 camera here. Yeah, OK. Shooting the film without a normal telly crew will give me more time to wander and explore. Because I want this to be a walk with a gentle pace, so I can take in my surroundings with freedom to think. No doubt I'll also bump into people en route, but I'm not sure who. I'm starting near Eastleigh, following the River Itchen and the Itchen Navigation, an intricate watery network. I'll head upstream, passing Shawford and Twyford, before making my way to St Catherine's Hill, finishing my walk outside Winchester Cathedral. I've walked here many a time, with my family, mainly my dad when I was young. I'm looking forward to today, but I think it takes sometimes a bit of courage to walk in your own distant footsteps. You don't know what you're going to find, and I haven't been up here on this walk for many years. It's going to evoke a lot of memories of long gone times. And I've got a very good memory. It's just that I don't always choose to open the cupboard and have a look what's in there. But listen to that, what a start. Sound of rushing water through the weir and an argumentative robin. Happy that it's springtime. Superb. It's going to be a good day, I think. Morning. Oh, look at that. It's a blackthorn tree out. Spring wedding. It's just like an absolute cloud of confetti. That is sensational. Frost all over the butter burr. But this takes the biscuit, doesn't it? Look at that. And it's all kicking off. We're getting to that point in the year where it's so green it hurts. Oh, look at that colour, seriously. That's bonkers, isn't it? That curtain of green. The reflections on the water. If only Monet were here now. It's just had a few backsides on it, hasn't it? I think we might offer it another one. Sail past of some mallards there, look. Look at their curly tails. What dandies they are. Male mallards. Dunnocks going, blackbirds, wood pigeon. Oh no, that is too keen. My goodness me.
Sorry, I didn't realise that you were here.
emerging nymph-like from the water. It's like some sort of, you know, Halcyon Grecian scene. What's in the bag?
So our dry robe, towel, and warm clothes. Most importantly, a warm drink as well.
So this is the cold bit now?
Yeah, definitely. So I love my dry robe.
When I was a kid, we used to swim in it all the time, but, you know, kids are more robust than 60-year-old adults, aren't they?
Swim here?
Yeah, but in various places up and down. Yeah, and then even as an adult, I used to go snorkeling to look for fish. But I did have a wetsuit on.
There's something about being in the cold water, I think, is there? Did you ever find that it makes you feel good? Or...
No, I needed a mission to get me in. I went in because I was looking for something. I wasn't doing it for, you know, sensory stimulation or metabolic progress.
Me and Claire know each other through work, so we work at the Memory Assessment Research Centre. So I'm a psychiatrist, and Claire's study coordinator there. Yeah, I think things like this, it's been an opportunity, well, for me, to reduce some of the stress that we've experienced, but also to socialise as well. I mean,
On a summer's afternoon with a wetsuit and a snorkel and an ample supply of hot chocolate and towels, I might get back in. Anyway, listen, I've got a long walk to go.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your walk.
I won't be as invigorated as you are at this point in time. But yeah, have a good day.
Bye.
Bye. Wow. I am actually tempted to get back into the Itchen. But I'm one of those people that I've got to have a mission. I can't just get in there for a boost to my body chemistry. I'd have to be chasing a perch or a dace or a rudd or a roach or a gudgeon. But of course, the mental health benefits must be amazing, just floating. Oh, look. Look like sticklebacks, yeah. Hiya.
What are you doing, Chris?
Well, I'm peering into the river looking at some sticklebacks, mate.
We caught a load with our daughters last week, put them back.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, is that allowed? To get them for
Of course
a
it
little bit
is,
and
of course it is.
then... Yeah.
Got to get kids into contact with nature, haven't you?
What's the optimum amount, like the max time they can sit in the bucket?
Quite a while. I mean, you know, obviously they need fresh oxygen, so they'll deplete it in the water. But I mean, a couple of hours is not a problem.
10-year-old, 5-year-old and a 2-year-old absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Come down.
And the tickle of a fish on the palm of a hand.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to
Nice
meet
to meet you.
Keep fishing with the kids.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bye. That's the old Eastleigh marshalling yards there. Because this is the navigation. This was cut sometime between 1665 and 1710. Because the river is out between the trees. That's the River Itchen. This has been diverted into this canalised section. And an Act of Parliament in 1665 decreed that the river should be more navigable, and barges would take coal from Northam in Southampton up to Winchester to warm the bishop in his castle. But this is the towpath, so this would have been horses towing barges up here, about 20 metres long. When the railway between London and Southampton opened in 1840, that was the end of it. And look, here's the railway bridge. Listen to that. Oh, I quite like that. It's like a heavy techno beat, wasn't it? Hello.
Hello there.
Well, what a wonderful place to live.
Oh, it is, Chris. It's absolutely wonderful. We just thoroughly enjoy it here. I've seen 2 otters.
Otters?
They got out of the river over there, and then, would you believe, I found some otter poo under the bridge.
Did you have a good sniff of it?
Yeah, oh yes, fishy.
Fishy. They say it smells like jasmine tea.
I know, I read about that and I thought, I don't know about that.
No, nor did I. I've never subscribed to that
I don't
idea.
think I'd like to taste it. One morning, I just came to the top of the stairs and there was a kingfisher sat on the gate. But of course, as soon as you see them, they're gone.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Your garden list of birds and mammals sounds,
Oh, absolutely.
sounds pretty special. Well, I'm going to leave you to your beautiful house on the river.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Keep your eyes peeled for those otters and kingfishers.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, bye-bye.
Wonderful to see you. Bye-bye.
Otter from your garden. All the pollen on those catkins. There's bees up there with their baskets brimming with pollen. Oh, I can hear those bees buzzing. God, I bet they're happy about that. Been in their hives all winter, surviving on all the honey that they've stored. Now they can finally get out and get some more pollen and nectar. Get the hive going. The water is so clear. You can see the chalky bottom. It's what makes these rivers so special. Internationally important, actually, in terms of their nature conservation value. Let's have a look and put the camera in so you can see just how clear the water is here. Here goes. Gravel bottom and all of that fresh green weed there. It's another world, isn't it? This was always one of my favourite stretches. This is where we came to look for reed buntings, me and my dad. I remember finding a nest just out here on the right. I remember peering in at the eggs, and there were all of these delicate little lines written inside the bird onto the egg, all individual. It was sort of a calligraphy of nature, a language. I remember just being absolutely entranced by those eggs. My dad had to haul me away. I didn't want to leave. I was just staring into that cup. But yeah, I remember sneaking through all of that tangle. One time we were out one morning. My mum had made us sort of a packed breakfast. And in it, she'd put some of her infamous cake. My mother was a good mum, but a very poor baker. You know, all of the cakes were overcooked. They were just dry. Anyway, we were sat on the side of the navigation and there was a big fat brown trout in there and we were watching it. And I caught a couple of grasshoppers on the bank and I flicked them in and the trout came up and took them. Anyway, my dad loved that. So he picked a piece of his cake off and he threw his cake into the water and the trout came up and it took it in its mouth and then it went down and then it spat it out. And we laughed, honestly. Even the trout wouldn't eat my mum's cake. In fact, it was that morning, actually, that my dad said that he loved the place so much that when he died, he wanted to be cremated and he wanted me to scatter his ashes in the Itchen. He meant it. I haven't had to do that duty, thankfully, because he's still going. But I will do. I'll wait for a sunny Sunday morning and I'll go and find that spot. I know exactly where that spot was. And the other thing, we had a joke about it, was that I said that I put some expanded polystyrene balls in with his ashes so that when I scattered them, I could then watch the white little globules in the river to see how far downstream he got. He liked that idea as well. So I'm tempted to do that, although I don't really want to throw polystyrene into the water. Maybe I can find something biodegradable to use instead. I can update the idea for the 21st century. Now that's what I needed. Morning.
Good morning.
Now, you've just turned up with the most handsome dog that I'm going to see all day long.
Thank you.
Nothing compares to the poodle. I can come a little bit closer. Oh, yes.
This is Molly.
Molly. Oh, yes. I've never had standard.
No.
I've only had miniatures.
Have you?
I've
Oh,
had miniature poodles since 1980.
oh, lovely.
I've
That's
got two at the moment.
Have you?
I'm missing them on this walk, to be honest with you. It's
bless.
weird to be walking without a poodle. Oh, gosh, honestly, that's made my day.
Oh, bless you. You don't see them around that often, do
No,
you?
not
either?
proper poodles. You know, is Molly the first one you've had?
She's my second one. So I'm an only child, so the dogs are like my world.
Oh,
And I wouldn't change from a poodle now then.
I just can't imagine life without a poodle.
No, I couldn't.
Molly, the best dressed,
Yeah.
best in show today, without a shred of a doubt.
Thank you.
Really nice to meet her.
And you. It's
All
lovely
right.
to see you.
Enjoy
Thank
the rest of your
you.
walk.
And you.
See you, Molly.
Bye-bye.
Fantastic. I've never had the guts for a standard. I've always had the miniatures. But, oh, whenever I see them, I'm... What a beautiful dog. I've taken a little detour to the site of a medieval church, St Matthew's at Otterbourne. You'll notice the church has gone. It was pulled down in the 1830s because Otterbourne moved. The Victorians put the railway through. They didn't like all the smoke and the noise and the cinders, so they moved the village and they moved the church too. But of course, they couldn't move the graves. I've always been drawn to churchyards. Look at these here. This one's got a skull on it. Yeah. And these are so encrusted with lichens that the inscriptions are barely visible. You can just see shapes of letters. With time, you could run your fingers over that. It would feel great. And you could transcribe, I'm sure, what it says beneath. These look more modern. Well, I say modern, they look Victorian to me. With their little fence around them. Family plot. I don't want a grave marker, personally. I've got it all planned. Here's what's going to happen. So my 2 dogs, Itchy and Scratchy, who I loved more than the word could ever do justice to, when one died, I put him in the freezer. And then, thankfully, Scratchy lived on for a little longer, and I put him in the freezer. And then, when I felt I was up to it, I took them and I got them cremated at the same time. I put them in the oven myself. It was quite a moment. And collected the ashes myself. And I've got them. Anyway, the happier end of the story is that when I die, I'm going to be cremated, and we're going to mix my ashes with Itchy and Scratchy, and we're going to scatter them under a particular tree, and my ashes will go into the soil, they become part of that tree, and the tree will produce leaves, which the caterpillars will eat, which the blue tits will eat, which the sparrowhawks will eat, which the goshawks will now eat. And I'll become part of that fabric of my dogs and the woods where we loved so much. And I think that's not weird, but romantic. But then I might just be weird. I just about managed to get through that story without crying. Thinking about Itch and Scratch, still hard. Today I've got Sid and Nancy, full of joy, but I can't walk those woods, which I do every day, without, the shadow of those footprints of Itch and Scratch. No, I've never been under this bridge before. Look at the top of it. Look at the patina of the top of this bridge. Oh, it's beautiful. You've got all of that seepage where the mortar's leaked the lime. It's made a beautiful, abstract, expressionist pattern. It's beautiful. The colours are sensational. I mean, some buffoon has sprayed yellow marks there, probably after they've analysed the structural integrity of this edifice, but they've ruined the art. This was always the bit of the walk when you ate your Mars bar. You resisted eating your sandwiches, right? White bread, spam, butter, maybe, if you've managed to sneak it, some tomato sauce spread in them. And of course, once you'd had the Mars bar, it's difficult to resist the sandwiches in their Tupperware box, sweating. Hiya.
Hi there, you all right?
I'm very good.
Good. Enjoying the weather?
I'm very much enjoying the weather. Did you catch anything, or you haven't dipped the net yet?
No, we've caught a few fish.
Did you?
Only little ones, but they're all right, aren't they?
I caught one massive one.
Oh, big.
Massive? How big was massive?
That big?
Oh, it's huge. How did you get it ashore?
I don't know, I just kept it.
Wrestled with the net.
Wrestled with the net. What was it, a stickleback?
Something like that, yeah.
And you put them all back, did you?
Yeah.
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 That's all good, isn't it?
All right.
No, enjoy the rest of your walk.
And you, yeah. Cheers, bye-bye, bye. It's good, isn't it? Parents taking their kid out, catch minnows and sticklebacks, put them in a bucket, have a look, put them back. allowing them to get muddy and wet. Lucky girl. Never know, she might get infected by that wildlife. Might ignite a little spark inside her, which will burn for a lifetime. Seed an interest which grows and grows until, in the end, she loves it and wants to look after it. And all it took was a minnow in a bucket. Yeah. Ah. Okay, got a bit of a gruesome memory coming up here. Maybe I'll skip it. I was really, really unhappy. Lost loads of weight. My dog had died, Max. It's the first poodle. Oh, I thought I loved him. Until I got Fish, my second poodle. And then I really loved Fish. He got run over, just over a year old. He died in my arms, and that didn't go well. It didn't go well for Fish. It didn't go well for me afterwards. I think pretty much everything fell apart then. Yeah. Everything went wrong. And I remember one day I was filming and I arrived early and I parked just over there where these cars are. And I got to a point where I couldn't tangibly reach anything, you know. And I was beyond the reach of everyone. And as much as all the people that cared for me tried to, they couldn't connect. Eventually, someone recognised that the only course of action was to get me out of this mess. Might be to get some more dogs. So I was kind of forced to get Itchy and Scratchy. I couldn't conceive of ever, you know, looking at another canine. Anyway, I just had a fish tattooed on my chest above my heart. Not that I've ever needed it. Not that I was ever going to forget that dog. It was still raw when I went to get Itchy and Scratchy. My sister sent me a letter the other day that I'd written a year afterwards saying I'd finally fallen in love with them. And those dogs saved my life. Because the bleakness didn't disappear. With the arrival of 2 black naughty puppies, it carried on. But at a certain point, when I didn't want it to carry on anymore, they were sat there looking at me with their little chestnut eyes. And I couldn't go. And these days, people have recognised the value of those relationships, and autism assistance dogs are a relatively common thing. And I hope they do as much good for those people as they did for me. Right, I've got to cheer up. Such a fantastic day. But it was just by that bridge. I remember being parked by that bridge and just struggling to find any reason to draw another breath, to be honest with you. Anyway, right, it's enough of that. Compton Lock is veritably heaving today.
Emma, come on.
That's good to see, though. Hello.
Hi.
You're the second wild swimmer that I've seen today.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, it's a gorgeous day, isn't it?
It is that, yeah. And do you swim here very often?
I did it a lot in the summer. You might not see that, but I'm missing one of my hands.
Yeah,
And for me, it helps with my kind of muscular balance.
yeah.
It's a bit like, I don't know, if you have a shopping bag constantly in one hand, it creates an imbalance in the spine.
But then if you're swimming upstream, that's like constant exercise.
Yeah, it's an infinity pool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is an infinity pool.
So for me, during the lockdowns, it kind of helped me mentally, I suppose.
You've got the spot. I mean, it is absolutely stunning, isn't it? Enjoy the rest of your swim. Fantastic. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
There are three men pontificating a sluice.
We're about to lift this boarding here in order to flood our water meadows, which are 100 yards down there.
And of course, this is a traditional practice, goes back a long time, in order to both irrigate and fertilise the fields.
You've missed out the critical thing.
OK, hold on. So it's obviously going to irrigate them. The silt that goes in was a means of fertilising them. What else am I missing then?
So if you can get this warm water from the Itchen over there, the grass grows, whatever it is, a month earlier.
OK, but traditionally then, when would the water meadows have been flooded?
The flooded, they start being flooded in February. They would start in February because the sheep are up there on the hills, let us say. And there you are, in snow all over the ground. The sheep have eaten everything in sight, and they're hungry. So if you flood the meadows there, raise the temperature, up grows the grass, and then the sheep can be brought down at the end of February, beginning of March, and then they eat it. There must be no standing water.
No standing water?
No standing, the water flows, constantly flows.
Right. So you're about to pull
Yes.
the sluice. There's a fellow here who's wild swimming.
Yes.
It's a great opportunity to get a camera in the water so that we can see the
it
water
being
going
raised.
through. Just give me a
Exactly
minute.
so.
Hold that sluice. Go on then. An ancient art is practiced.
That's it.
I'm going to walk down and take a look at the meadow itself then.
We'll follow the water down.
Let's do it.
You can see the water now, look, coming through the brick arch,
Yep.
cascading down. And we'll follow, this is the main carrier.
So the water meadow system, it was all carriers.
Carriers and drains. Now this is the main carrier,
Okay.
but this is now wholly under our control.
Okay. It's a brave statement when you're applying it to water. Water has a will of its own, doesn't it?
It does, but this is 1680s river engineering, which is completely intact with very minor restoration and operated by a series of boards and people.
Practical archaeology. Let's go down and take a look down here then.
So this will be the main feed for the water meadows, going down here, and our water meadows now stretch over that way.
So effectively, your main carrier here is now filling up and you're about to start putting it into your sub-carrier here.
That's right.
Excellent.
Top carrier.
Top carrier. Let's see some top work with your top carrier then.
So we're under control, do you agree?
So far, you've got a leak. Come on, you've got a leak.
A leak, that's...
You've got a leak. Your man's not pulled the sluice yet. You've got a little bit of a leak there.
That's absolutely right. These are marginal flows.
Oh, goodness me, what's a bit of a surge there.
Okay, that's the one. Will you lift that one straight away?
Your surge there, you've become, it's over enthusiastic. That's better.
Isn't it fantastic?
It is. It's running water through a ditch, but it is strangely fantastic, yes.
Yes, you pull
Surely.
it. You pull it.
We need young people involved in this. Top work. Look at this, look, this is it.
This is it.
We're riding the crest of a small wave as it percolates through the Hampshire countryside in a way that it hasn't done much since the 1800s and started to do in the 1600s. For the benefit of this old meadow in terms of its health and well-being. I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
I wish my father was here to see this. He loves all of these sorts of things. He's going to be so envious when I tell him what I've seen today and what you've been doing here. He positively loves all of this sort of stuff.
Well, just look at the joy it brings to everyone.
Of course.
They love it.
And look, this is a community-owned area,
Yeah.
isn't it? I've really enjoyed this strange flooding exercise. I just wish my dad was here to see it. I wish it was his feet that were getting sodden wet like mine as well. What a thing. What a thing. Here we are, so we've gone from the navigation, the canal, back to the river, Itchen. I like to say that this river runs through me, runs through my heart. I'm made of this river. I grew up on its banks, fallen in it, I've swum in it, I've got muddy in it, I've got cold in it, I've cried into it, I've loved alongside it, I've lived alongside it. Reminds me of a quote from one of my favourite books, A River Runs Through It by Norman Maclean. Eventually, all things merge into one, and a river runs through it. The river was cut by the world's great flood and runs over rocks from the basement of time. On some of those rocks are timeless raindrops. Under the rocks are the words, and some of the words are theirs. I'm haunted by waters. This is called White's Lane. I'm not going to give you any prizes for guessing why. We're walking up essentially a chalk path. So the chalk here dates from about 68 to 70 million years ago. This whole area was a large, shallow, warm sea. And of course, it got heaved and pushed. And all of those microorganisms that had settled on the bottom were compacted into the chalk. Oh, I'm not very fond of my accelerating decrepitude. I used to virtually run up here, breeze up it like it was nothing. Oh, dear. Now, listen to me. puffing and panting. Oh. It's another thing I think you take for granted, or I took for granted. I thought I was going to be as fit as I was when I was a kid, all of my life. And now, I walk every day, with the dogs, of course. But I'm 60, so how much do I want to, I said want, not need, want to invest in my physical fitness? To be honest with you, I've always been more interested in my mental fitness, trying to maintain that. I think that's one of the reasons why, for me, walking every day is now central to my mental health regime. So whilst the, itch and navigation was crowded by historical standards, or my historical standards, all of those people there, they were actively seeking a space where they were mentally more healthy. And that's what I used to do when I came here. And I had no choice but to seek it. Because I couldn't get a handle on how to manage myself with the, impositions of Asperger's. I didn't realise it at the time. I thought I came out here because it's where everything lived that fascinated me. But in fact, when I look back on it now, this was a place where I could immediately find comfort in my perceived isolation. And I remember my 18th birthday. I had no friends. I had nothing that I wanted to celebrate. I woke up really early before I could see my family, so I got up before they did because I didn't want to have to hear them say happy birthday to me, because it wasn't going to be happy. However happy they said it, I hated myself, and then when I hated myself, it made me hate the world around me because I didn't want to hate myself. And I got on a bus and I just came out here, and it was freezing cold, May Day, and I just wandered around on my own. I just didn't know what else to do. I was at a complete loss of how to connect with anything other than this. And I wandered around, and then I got the last bus, went home, and then the day ended. And that was just one, like, unfortunately, lots of days. And the reason why I talk about this stuff is because I still fear that out there somewhere this evening, on this nice sunny spring day, there will be teenagers all over the UK, people in their early 20s, with Asperger's or the traits or something similar, stuck in their bedrooms in a time of lockdown, and they will be really, really unhappy. Having been there, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. It does get better. The more of your life you can control, the better it gets. It's about control. It's about controlling your temporal, physical, and emotional space. And the more control you get over that, the easier it becomes. Honestly, there's only one thing worse than golf, and that's golf on TV. Whacking a small ball with a stick. Humans, bonkers, aren't they? Absolutely bonkers. There's something in the bowels of my memory tells me that this was a pilgrimage route. Hiya. You noticed how my, enthusiastic good mornings have paled to a late afternoon. Oh yeah, as I climb up this steep, chalky path, betraying my lack of physical fitness. Go for a walk, they said. Not thinking that I'd be made to look like destitute, physically unfit. 60-year-old. Oh no. And these people are going to cycle past me. Oh, they're going to do it. Look, here they come. I'm going to admire your fortitude and strength.
Yeah, it's running out, actually.
Is it? I'm pleased to hear it, because mine's just about to give out completely. Look at that. Not even standing off the saddle. Top work. And they've got loads of bags. For all I know, they've got bricks in those bags. Oh. Do you know what I feel like doing now? It's like just sort of sprinting past them really fast, sort of trying to prove a point. But I won't do it, because I'd only just get past them before I collapse into a sweaty heap on the side of the path, choking on the chalky dust. Producing that raucous roar just beyond the hill here. We've got the M3. I haven't seen a skylark, or heard one. I haven't seen a kite, but the most notable and sad exception is the lack of kestrels, because that's what brought me here, if I'm very honest with you. I didn't come here just for exercise. I came here with a quest, and my quest invariably was to look for kestrels, because I was obsessed with kestrels. I don't know what it was about that bird, but everything about them just lifted my spirits. And when I kept one myself, it was the happiest time of my life. I mean, I cannot tell you. I mean, that whole summer I had that bird, I just was literally floating on air. And we used to see them all the time here, along the edge of the motorway. For many people, they were motorway birds. They'd be driving along and they'd see them hovering there. Gerard Manley Hopkins wrote a poem called The Wind Hover. Although the poem is essentially about Christ, he entirely distills and encapsulates the kestrel as an entity, and he worships it as I worshipped that bird. I caught this morning's minion, Kingdom of Daylight's Dauphin, dappled dawn-drawn falcon in his riding, of the rolling level underneath him, steady air and striding. High there, how he rung upon the rein of a wimpling wing, in his ecstasy, then off forth on swing. As a skate's heel sweeps smooth on a bow bend, the hurl and gliding, rebuffed the big wind, my heart in hiding. Now then, St. Catherine's Hill. What a place. There was more bunnies here than the Playboy Mansion ever held. It was absolutely heaving with rabbits. They're still here because there's droppings everywhere, but they're not in the abundance that they used to be. Here we are, approaching one of the Earth ramparts. So there would have been a wooden palisade along the top here. And if you were going to try and storm the fort, you would have to run up that slope with your presumably leather and iron armour and sword, and then confront your enemy. And what a luckless task that would have been. And then if you got over it, you'd have to run up this shorter, even steeper slope and get over another palisade of wooden stakes, driven in to get into the middle, where the settlement was. And the animals would have been brought, and the surrounding villagers would be camped for safety. Can you imagine how gruesome that was? And quite clearly, I'd have been slaughtered, because I'd have been panting, rather than wielding my weapon with any efficacy. Down there at the base of the hill is the navigation. Further away on the other side is the river. Those meadows were my playground, where I came to skip and run and search and learn and escape and survive. Those meadows shaped and probably saved my life. My dad is 87. He's had hip replacements, cataracts. I won't go into his full medical history because he'll think that's private. But one thing's for sure, he's not coming up St. Catherine's Hill anymore. Place that he led me so many times. He couldn't get up here, and I couldn't carry him. After all the times he pushed, pulled, dragged, cajoled, and encouraged me up here, he's never going to see the world from the top of this hill again. But it's a shame. You've got to push back all the time. You've got to live for every moment. You just can't count on tomorrow. Because the day will come when I won't be able to climb to the top of St. Catherine's Hill. And I don't know when that day's going to be. I don't know whether this is my last summit attempt on this fabulous old hill fort. And you, my father, there on that sad height, curse, bless me now with your fierce tears, I pray. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. And we're nearly there. In days of old, by this stage, the Tupperware sandwich box was well and truly empty. Even the cake, my mother's infamous desiccated cake, would have been consumed on account of grievous hunger. I'm exaggerating, but I can almost smell it. The cathedral. Inside, oh, the perfume of the inside of that building. It just effuses history. King Canute is buried in it. Jane Austen's buried in it. Richard the Lionheart was crowned in it. And do you know the cherry on this architectural cake? It's got peregrine falcons nesting on it. Oh, I used to cycle up here, literally, to see kestrels nesting in it, and I was so excited about that. And at one time I was allowed to go up into the tower and look at the nest. I never dared dream that one day they'd be perched on its gargoyles, those peregrines. Just what a thing that is. What a thing that is. Honestly, just sensational. And I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed this walk and the opportunity to reflect on all those things. My beautiful dogs, Itch and Scratch, my remarkable father, and how much he invested in my all but troubled childhood. And how fortunate I've been to have found a way through those troubles. And now, hopefully, I'm able to articulate some hope for those people who find themselves in a similar place. But I do feel compelled to talk about those things. Up until recently, people didn't talk about mental health issues, and it didn't help. We still have a really high suicide rate in the UK, particularly amongst young men. So if you do know someone who's in trouble and you ask them, "Are you okay?" make sure it's not a rhetorical question. And if they say yes and you know it's not true, then don't pretend to believe them and buy another pint. Help them sort it out. Maybe they won't have poodles to get them through. And ultimately, one of the things you might suggest is a bit of natural health. A walk on a sunny spring day. You don't need to know the names of the birds, names of the butterflies or the trees. You just need to be in that space, walking with that lovely rhythm, healing your mind.